putting out videos like this on, they're doing their own, I was sober for a year. Here's what happened. I've been sober, blah. And these things are getting hundreds of thousands of views and, and tons of subscribers to these, to these channels. And I'm thinking like, whoa, let's just start putting our own, live instead of keeping it in the group. Let's put them out live to everybody and then drive traffic to the program through the YouTube videos, because a lot of times we're keeping them in the group because people paid for that. And, and I appreciate that. And I'm not trying to devalue what we gave them, but also like we need to get the messaging out because we are helping hundreds of people through this thing. It's really cool.
I love that thing.
Was that?
I love that program.
Yeah, it was great.
Worked like a charm for me.
Dude, so Morgan Wallen, speaking of drinking and whatnot, drinking got him in trouble. Here's a classic example. But he, a couple years ago when we were in Phoenix at the Senior Open, well, I call it the Senior Open, but Schwab Cup. This dude gets up on stage Friday night, 10th tee box, tiny little stage about the size of my desk, and he's up there with his mullet, and he's like, and I'm like, who fucking is this guy with his mullet and his like thing, and I'm like bringing back this, he just looks like a dirty little, Alabama kid.
Country boy.
And it was him. And then next year he comes out with like whiskey glasses and like that, and I was like, you little mug.
Yeah, see, he was just grinding and grinding and grinding.
And to your point, man, and I've always, done my own thing. I don't give a shit whatever. Mm-hmm. But like you always said, like, if you're not, doing that type of stuff, if you're not following like your intuition and your gut and like to pay attention to the things that you're doing in life, right? Like you wear the Levi jeans, or like you really love space, so start digging into space. We're going to bring this into stocks and whatnot. We're going to bring it into Virgin Galactic and Tesla and all this shit. And how do we get, on the tip when they start doing Starlink? Because, I want to make sure that I got.
Oh, I've already seen the reviews and stuff. I've seen people using Starlink. I've seen.
Really?
Oh yeah, dude, they already got it all hooked up. And Elon just made an announcement the other day about Starlink, saying that he'll have like 80% or 90% of the whole entire Earth covered by the end of this year.
Whoa.
And they're going to up the speeds, or they're going to double the speed or something of it. And the speeds are already incredible. The upload speed was incredible. And that's like the hardest part to master with satellite communication is the uplink. The download speed's easier because, you can just put this gigantic satellite in space that just pumps freaking RF
laser
down
beams
to the
down
Earth,
on you. Yeah.
And you can collect that all day at like super high rates,
Yeah.
but you have to have some kind of device that will shoot back to upload to the satellite. And to have something like that back in the day, you had to have an array that was the size of like fucking Brazil. Like you've seen those on
buried in the jungle, like in
like you had to have some crazy shit like that to relay back
like
to
James Bond, right? They're like driving their cars on the thing.
Yeah, exactly. And the thing like comes, it's like openings, like clamshells and stuff, and comes out of the ground. And nowadays you can do it on something that's the size of your lamp, and it's like you put it outside in your backyard, or you put it on your roof, like like the TV satellite dishes, and you have something that's as good, or if not better, than like Comcast or whatever you could get landline style to your house.
So that will be something that they're going to have to deal with. Not that obviously they've thought this end to end, but they're going to have like a direct TV dish that goes on we're going back to the dish on the roof again.
Yep.
Or is that what they got worked out?
That's how it works. Yeah. You can go on YouTube right now and watch videos of guys setting it up and testing it and all that kind of stuff. And it's really cool. One of the guys was like, all right, I'm going to do it from like opening the box to like online real time, see how long it takes, right? And the fucking thing, the video was like 9 minutes from when he cut the box open to when he was online. I was like, 9 minutes.
Shit.
Yeah.
How does he set the thing up? I know we could go look at it, but how does he put like the dish up? Is it just hanging on his window or some shit?
No, he just put it on his driveway just to set it up and
just to check it
and like mount it on the roof or
anything.
Anything.
All right.
But he just wanted to see how fast it was, if it mattered, positioning wise, if that got him any more speed before he like set it in stone. He wanted to fuck with it a little bit. So Tesla, I guess had the packaging and like the way that it comes out of the packaging and the way that it goes together and everything was like genius, of course. So like, the dish itself, comes out, and then it slides onto this piece, and there's no screwing or any tools needed because it has like that locking mechanism. And it was super simple. All the cables already connected. You get a shit ton of footage. All you have to do pretty much is plug this thing in, and then there's like a router that comes with it too that you would put inside your house like you do with regular internet. And then boom, he was able to connect his phone right away and start running speed tests and shit. And I was just like, man, that is so crazy. It's
Dude,
such a
that
game
is
changer.
nuts. That is nuts because before that
Such
there
a game
was
changer.
some satellite internet when I was living back in Chicago, and it wasn't any good.
No,
The speed wasn't that great, and it was expensive. But and they were trying to get to
expensive.
rural areas.
Hmm.
But now I got fiber. But now I'm thinking like I have fiber optic with Allo, but like I mean it's almost
Fiber is the
outdated.
shit. I mean, fiber is the shit. Don't get me wrong. I mean, I'm not knocking fiber, but
Yeah,
eventually they'll dial that thing into where they can get some crazy good speed for crazy good money. That fiber line's not cheap either, dude. So that type of stuff is expensive as well. So it's going to be like what are you doing with it versus how much you want to spend. You'll be able to at least have some options there, which is all that you need, because a lot of people are stuck using still like DSL and shit, dude, from like AT&T and stuff, trying to watch YouTube. God, give
yeah,
me a break, bro.
yeah. On
That would
copper
just put a
wires.
gun to my head. I'd rather use my cell phone and just like tether my cell phone to the TV and watch YouTube than try to use DSL,
Yeah.
or something like that. Or like you said, that old satellite technology. Get the fuck out of here with
Get
that.
that back. I mean, that's funny. That's probably just littered with landfills, and so is like Direct TV fucking dishes. Although I loved Direct TV, I think it's a great product, but you're just trying to get but it doesn't matter. It's half a dozen here because you get rid of Direct TV, but then you're doing 4 or 5 different streaming
Well,
services,
everybody
and
broke
you're
up,
back
and
on the
yep,
same thing,
yep.
and so you're screwed. It would be cool to have an aggregate. If there's an aggregator that you could
Something will
watch,
happen like that.
but Smart TV kind of does that to some extent because all the apps are right there. So I don't know, but
As
yeah,
far
that's
as
interesting.
payment though, and subscription
Yeah,
thing,
except for
they'll
payment and subscriptions.
Verizon kind of does it already a little bit. So does, because like Disney, ESPN, Hulu, they're all together kind of. So there'll be kind of some of those things going on. So you might only have to subscribe to 2 or 3 of them, and you'll be good. Because I got like the YouTube TV one, which gives me YouTube, like regular YouTube, uh, beneficial access. I forget what it's called.
Yeah,
Stuff like that.
beneficial
And I didn't mean
access.
Tesla. I meant SpaceX. SpaceX is who sends you the dish, not Tesla.
Yeah, but to see that's interesting because I was going to ask about that because I did think that like Tesla was part of which doesn't make sense, which is part of like Starlink was coming through, but Starlink's coming through SpaceX,
SpaceX. Mhm.
but you can't invest in that yet.
They're not public. No, there's a ton
Yeah.
of companies like that are private. You know how that works.
Well, no,
So,
but what I mean is like, yeah, because I want to get in whenever that is like, you
1000%.
know what
I'm
I
in.
mean? Like,
Yeah.
yeah,
That, like you said, if they separate Neuralink or something somehow, I want to get into that big time. If they ever spin off a battery company or something like that, I would buy them. Whatever they put out it's because they think different, dude. Like I've been, that's my thing for 2021 is to learn how to think, because I think that like
yeah.
most of my life I've been thinking, but I haven't been really thinking. So like I want to be able
Oh,
to re-engineer how I think. That's what's going to take me to the next level.
rethink thinking.
Hmm.
Well, you've been sending me a lot of stuff, the hacking stuff. I can't get past step
3.
3, man. It's
Yeah,
giving me an issue, but I'm not giving up.
that's when it gets a little bit more advanced. I'm not going to lie.
I'm cheating, not cheating, but
You
I'm
could look it up.
no, I'm not looking it up. I will not do that because I don't want it takes the fun out of it. But also
Well, if you
like,
look up this one, it might give you an idea of what to do with the next one. So,
sure.
like, I'm not opposed to you doing something like that. So you try for, let's say, a week,
Yeah.
and then after a week is over, you're like, man, I got a couple things I think I got figured out, but I'm gonna check it out and see what's up. This way you can move on, and then you'll see how it really works, how you're supposed to be thinking.
Yeah.
Maybe you'll have that aha moment, because I did do that on like number 6 or something, because
Okay.
I was really close. I was so close that when I hacked into the website, it spit out like a prompt that said, "You're thinking along the right lines."
No
Yeah,
way.
it was like server side includes are what you need to use, but I set restrictions on what's available or something like that. So dumb down your code, because I had over coded it. I'm like, dumb down my code. I'm like, Jesus Christ. I'm like, I barely know what I'm doing. I don't know how to like scale this back in
That's
any
cool.
fashion.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, dude, I don't know. So I looked it up and I was so close. I had just forgotten to add this like one directory, thing or something like that. I can't even remember the details, but I was like, dude, that's what he wanted me to do. Or I added too much after the directory is what it was. I should have just deleted it all and just submitted that first ls dash l, and that was all I
Yeah.
needed. Yeah, and I
Damn,
was
that's really
add way
cool.
too much.
I may go do that just to see because I feel
Just
like
check
I'm
it.
but also
Keep
what I was
moving.
going to say is like I'm avoiding going in and like starting to learn HTML just to
You
get
don't
past
need
that
to.
point. Well, they keep saying like if you don't get past this step, you might want to learn
All right,
HTML. And I'm
here.
like, well, shit, I don't want to go into it. So anyway, but no big
let's
deal.
let's
And this
try
is for
let's
the
try something here.
hackthiссite.org that you sent me the other day. You guys got to try this. It's so fun. I think it's
Hang on.
fun. And I'm only
Let's
like
see.
in step 3 or 4, but like I think it's a
It
fun
is.
time.
It's a blast. Like I said again, you don't need to learn crazy math. You don't need to learn crazy like coding like you were saying.
Yeah.
Let me go here. Let me see if
I got to
hang on
step
real
for a
fast.
minute.
Yeah,
I got
yeah,
to
yeah.
grab a tissue.
I'm gonna pull this up and I'm gonna log in really quick and then we can play this game.
Is it crazy? Is deranged?
Hmm. Uh, I messed up. I messed up. Uh,
Oh, darn it.
I don't remember my login because I switched computers, dude. Shoot, I could have sworn that was it.
So, saw the Coinbase talking about the IPO they're filing for. That's solid.
Yeah, that is pretty cool. Actually, I'm pumped that they're doing something cool like that finally. Hopefully, they'll do it soon. Though they keep talking about it, but they're not doing anything. Man, I can't
You
remember
know,
because I changed computers, so I don't have any of my passwords saved in here, and I can't remember my shit for this website, dude.
dude, that's funny. I
Isn't it?
looking at Ethereum, it's down to like 1400 right now.
Is it?
Yeah, man, I just bought some more. Yeah, what's it at right now? It's like it's down. I get the little alert. It's like down 11% or something. It's down to 1480. It was down to 1440. So I bought some at like I don't know 1475. I bought back in a little bit.
Yeah, no, that's a good time, man. I mean, like, honestly, here, so everybody's like, oh my God, Bitcoin went from 58 to 48 or whatever. And I'm like, yeah, so what? Like, honestly, it's like one of those deals where it was going
That was
like
going to happen.
too high, or that's a bad way to put it. Almost like Elon kind of fucked up by saying what he said. He didn't mean that either. It's like one of those things where it has to consolidate. So nothing is just not meteoric. I'm thinking exponential, not even
Yeah.
exponential, but what there's a name for it when growth is out of control like that. But nothing good happens when that happens. It just ends up crashing again. So you have to have it kind of go up, then consolidate, then up. then consolidate. So if it stair steps and almost builds like this pyramid type of progression, then you're going to be all right. When you have stuff that goes straight up like this, you know that it's got to come straight down, because there's this like pattern that I picked up on in the stock market after watching charts for God knows how many years now. And I draw trend lines. I use Bollinger Bands and indicators and moving averages and convergence, divergence. I use all this charting shit. I'm a big chart fan. I love charts. And because it's pattern recognition again. And what I've noticed is this, like, so if a chart starts, a nice steady chart, it's going up real slow from the, this is like zero when the stock started, and like, this is around today or something like that. Stock's going up, and it's doing its thing, and it's going up, going down, not too crazy, and it's nice and steady. The climb is pretty good. The angle of ascent is like right about here, and then, some good news happens, and boom, the stock, bubbles up. That's why they call it a bubble. It bubbles up like this. And eventually what ends up happening is the stock will go down almost equal to the bubble popping up. So like if the bubble was, above the line like this, it'll drop back below the line equal, almost like you could flip that bubble into the drop. And then the stock will come back up and continue that same progression. So like it'll bubble up, bubble down, catch back on the line and keep going. Bubble up, bubble down, catch back on the line and keep going. Or down, then up, whatever. It's just going to dance on this line the entire time. And if it doesn't, and it goes way up like this, that it's going to go way down like this. So you want to make sure that you watch that progression, that steady angle of ascent, because it's always going to snap back to that line somehow, some way, either by, going up in price or coming back down in price. And it'll continue. It's a pendulum. It's a pendulum
I
effect.
think about that every time I look at stocks and I'm looking at charts. You've said this before, and I think about it every time. I like hear you saying that. I'm like, okay, try to look at it and see. But I do wonder if you can apply that same principle, to Bitcoin or to altcoins, at any cryptos, because yes, you can apply the principle, but is there enough data behind it to support that same type of thing, because it's a different vehicle
commodity or
commodity type, I don't know.
Sure. Yeah. Vehicle,
that's why I
for
wonder.
sure. Whatever investment vehicle. That's a good way to put it.
So sometimes I'm
You're right.
skeptical.
There's definitely a lot of differences. There's definitely a lot of history behind the stock market and some of their pricing modeling and stuff. Oh, hang on real fast.
At least like right now, because people are jumping in, different people are jumping in. Governments are starting to.
Okay. Hang on. My daughter's blowing me up here.
Oh, go for it, brother.
Hang on.
It's funny. I don't even know if that worked, but a lot of stuff I want to bring up while Tony's on the phone. If he comes back, we'll see. Hopefully everything's okay. But it's really that. It's, there's a lot going on with it. I'm looking at Coinbase now to talk about the stuff that we're seeing with. Obviously, the volatility, it's been down, I feel like, really. Not that I feel like, in the last week. If you take Bitcoin, for example, and just see how that's been. I mean, over the last week, that's 8%, down 8%. For the last month, though, it's still up 43%. In the last year, it's like over, close to 400%. So 7% for the day, down to 46, which is awesome. So, I mean, it's like, buy it in, right? And like that meme that was being passed around, buy the dip. I did buy the dip. Buy the other dip. It's like hilarious. But at some point, like I'm kind of done throwing in. I'm kind of waiting for some of these altcoins that I threw some cash in to just bounce back to almost like, because those were just like fun. Like the Bitcoin I'm leaving in, the Ethereum I'm leaving in. Those are things I'm just leaving in. But like the Decentraland and Stellar, I don't know, and the bot and possibly Dash.
Stellar.
Like I'm keeping that stuff there because I might just pull it out if it ever comes back to where I paid for it. But we'll see.
So Stellar's at 34 cents or something right now. I don't know, 14? I can't tell. It's not letting me push that far. 38.
Yeah. And
No, I
so,
think that's almost, I'm telling you, I think based on what I'm saying, a couple of those consolidations has that bouncing right here and going back up at least to, I would say, 50.
yeah,
Yeah, just based on the way that I'm seeing this trend line. But the steady progression is a little bit lower than this even. But I think that, there is a way to build a new steady progression, but it's through consolidation. You have to sit in a price range for a long ass time. And that's what I was saying about Bitcoin is that the halving already took place. Most of the run, well, I would say maybe half of the run because we're only at 50,000. Half of the run has already taken place. The other half of the run will take place throughout the rest of this year. By the end of the year, we're looking at six-figure Bitcoin. And then I think it consolidates and sits and does the pendulum thing that I'm talking about for 4 years until the next halving. The next halving happens, it goes from 150,000 or something right around in that range or whatever it is, all the way to a million. It just goes boom, all the way to a million because that's when the last halving occurs. That's the march to that's not true. I think there's another couple halvings after that.
yeah, I
But
thought there were
that's
two.
yeah, that there's that's the march though to the last Bitcoin being sold, and with the reward being less than like it's going to be like 3.15 Ethereum or not Ethereum Bitcoin per block. I mean, with all the people hashing at that one, at that little ass reward like that, it's going to be chaos, man. There already isn't enough Bitcoin mined to satisfy the demand for it. And there was a new ETF that just opened up. Grayscale's been open for a while. There's another ETF that's going to open up. Micro investors or whatever, micro something, I can't remember the name of that company, but they're all about it. They just put in another freaking like 100 million. Square just put in another 150 million or something. People are just dumping huge amounts of cash into freaking Bitcoin right now on these drops. So that should tell you everything you need to know. Like Square is not going to dump 150 million. Tesla's not going to put 1.5 billion into something that is going to shit the bed, dude. Come on. That's my point. Is it's already got to the point to where because of Grayscale, there's so much Bitcoin locked into that trust. It's impossible for us to get back down into like even the 20s because unless they started to sell, but they
Yeah,
can't because they have to hold based on the holdings of their trust, in dollars,
that's interesting.
so it's locked. That's what I mean. It's locked in there. And unless there was a massive run in the stock market, like a major crash or something like that. I mean, there's obviously events that could make, that could change everything. But even the event of something like that, Bitcoin would then be a bigger safe haven.
You
It wouldn't be the
think
opposite.
that's what, yeah, and that's like kind of what, you know, with the way that things are going, you would, you just don't know. Like, is it a safe place, right? If the dollar crashes and stuff like that, you think,
Yeah,
yes, that makes sense, right? But also, yeah, maybe people will put that there to hold things, but also they're nervous. Maybe people just pull out of the market. You know, the ETF
where do
thing,
you
I think,
put your money then? Like that's my question. If the dollar crashes and you have Bitcoin and you're like, oh my God, I got to get out of Bitcoin, you're not buying the
no,
dollar.
no, they
What do
wouldn't
you
say
do?
that. I think if you're in the market, they would say, I'm pulling out of the market, but I don't know if I want to put it in Bitcoin. I'm not sure what I'm going to do. And so,
Gotcha.
like, I know the theory between like ARK, I was watching some videos on Kathy Woods and what she's saying, because I'm thinking,
Love her.
well, what happens when, her ETFs are going to take a hit? And they're like, well, what we do is we go make plays where, so you see Buffett and you see Gates pulling out of like Amazon and not so much Apple, but they're pulling out and they're moving into biotech and pharma right now is what I'm
Sure.
seeing. And so, but and Kathy said the same thing. She goes, you move it into something that's like like a pharma play that is a good value, but that's not going to get you a ton of growth because it protects your money. Because I was like, why would you even do that, especially in a down market? Why wouldn't you just rip it out? And she's just like, well, no, you keep it there because you put it in something like that so that if one of these companies like Takeda or what are the other ones she talked about? I don't even know. Let's just whatever.
I can't remember. Yeah.
In case they have a little bit of a growth, then you're still making some money on your money and it's there. But chances are it's just going to be like, it's going to be a 2%er.
What
It's
the?
going to be a one. It's never going to, you know what I'm saying? What up, dog? Because I was like, what's the
uh,
theory behind that? Like,
It's
Well, I see it
definitely
now. She said
wealth
it.
protection. You're
Yeah,
right.
it's protection. And she said it. And then you're in this value stock, not a growth stock, but you keep it there in case they come out with something and then you take advantage of that. So it's like, I get it now. I get it. Okay.
Yeah, and that's another reason why I love sector rotation. I'm a big fan of sector rotation, and that's pretty much what you're talking about. Is like I always preach this to everybody. So if you're in the stock market and you're worried about losing money, right? And you're worried about like the market going down. So when the market's good and going up, you buy, like you said, growth companies that are going to make a killing. They can get easy money. They can throw money back into the company and hopefully hit home runs. But then when the market sucks and no one's throwing money around and these growth companies can't get any cash or capital, what you do is you go buy the companies that make toilet paper and toothpaste. Because even if everybody loses their jobs and everybody's, broke, they still got to wipe their ass and brush their teeth and take showers and do that type of stuff. So you
Yeah.
get the Johnson and Johnsons and those types of companies, or like healthcare companies, because everybody's still got to stay alive. You still got to get medicine. You got to go to a doctor if you're sick. You got to do that type of stuff. So of course, you just have to rotate with the sectors based on what the market's doing. And
Yeah.
and Kathy Wood is like one of those people that you could literally set up a three position, three stock, or whatever you want to call it, portfolio with her. You could get her fintech, you could get the ARKK, and then you could do something like Bitcoin and be completely fucking covered. I mean, like completely fucking covered.
Yeah,
And
that's
if you want
true.
to switch Bitcoin out with gold or something, no problems with that. Whatever you want to do, you just get gold, you Bitcoin gold, something like that, or real estate maybe, but not an ETF. I'm talking real estate. So like buy houses or buildings, especially now. And those two ETFs, man, because a lot of people have like three ETF portfolios and they kill it.
It's hard right now, actually. I was looking for multifamily, and that's good advice. I was looking for multifamily here in town, and I found a couple of investment properties that will cash flow. Well, they would cash flow if you got them at the right price, but everything is so inflated right now in Lincoln because it's so. I
Everything's
mean,
inflated everywhere.
if anything goes on the market, it is gone in a second. It is
Same with
fucking gone in a
Florida.
second, right?
Hmm.
And that's why we got so much money for our house in Arizona. And I can't help but thinking, and I know it's like we're coming out of COVID and the market's like, hey, the market's bouncing back, but I can't help but think that I feel like we're in a position to actually take a big hit as a thing, or like almost hit a recession or something like there
Yeah,
has
it's
to be
coming.
some sort of bigger correction, but
The
everybody's like,
pendulum.
oh, we're coming, coming out of the COVID, whatever.
We're
And I'm
gonna hit
going,
it.
that doesn't make sense to me. It like the way I'm feeling, but if those are the numbers. And so to a couple things. So to Michael Burry, right? I've been mentioning him in our text
Love
messages a
him.
lot. Oh, dude, here's my book. Couldn't wait to show it to you. And this is awesome. So he said he bases all of his stuff off this. And I bought the first
Yeah,
edition, the
you
1939,
guys sent me a picture of that. That's pretty
yeah,
cool.
1934 edition by Benjamin Graham and David Dodd. And it's security analysis. And he says, well, what's his name said, like he bases all of his stuff off this book in value investing, like Buffett, buying
Yeah,
good companies at the right price, when they're on sale. And you
yeah.
have to be
Price to
ready for
earnings
that, right?
multiples and
Yeah.
stuff.
So
Yeah,
it's stuff like
pegs,
that.
price to earning growth. Yeah,
And getting it at the right, and then there's outliers for ones and twos, but that's besides the point. He goes, and so he's talking about real estate, talking about water, investing in water, and
I've
so I've been
heard that
looking at
too.
land out here with
Pickens and
water,
stuff. There's a bunch of people doing that.
but
T
then
Boone, T
but
Boone. That's
T
who.
Boone, and so the point of that is
Dead now.
he keeps talking about this. Tesla's going to be $100 by the end of the year. He
Who
says
does Bury?
$100 by the end of the year. He's like, I warned you guys before, you didn't listen. I warned you again, you guys didn't listen. He goes, and this he was on Twitter. He's like, and now
Yeah,
for the record, I want there to be a record that I warned you. And it says, and his Twitter name is says Cassandra, because I guess there's like this Greek like thing back from the Greek whatever days. Cassandra was somebody that
sure,
would warn people and nobody would listen to her, and then like things would
sure.
happen.
Yeah,
So he's like, I warned you. I want for the record, I warned you guys again. blah 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 blah. And that's why I keep poking into our thing and saying, hey dude, like Tesla, like I want to short it, except I don't have the cash to short it. Even those put options like are too
They're
expensive,
expensive.
and it's like I just don't have the cash to do that. I mean, I could cash out Bitcoin, but I'm not in that big of a need to do it. Like I'd just keep my Bitcoin where it is.
It's definitely Tesla's definitely one of the most heavily shorted stocks for sure.
I have been reading that too, which then led me down to start looking at that. So when I'm looking at stocks, I would never look, but now I'll see like if they show what type
Mhm.
of short positions are there, right?
Against it, yeah.
Against it and stuff.
Yeah.
Bill Gates won't
There's
talk
whole
about
web
it.
pages dedicated to just that.
That's
That
really
shows
cool.
you trackers and like,
Yeah.
not necessarily a tracker, but the interface is all laid out so you can sort and go through the most heavily sorted stuff, and it'll tell you how many shares, blah blah blah.
That's the one thing I can't figure out on my Ameritrade account, is how to get, and I haven't really been looking at it on my computer, but how
Hmm.
to get the 5 and 10 day averages you were telling me about. Because every time I want to pull those
Yeah,
up, was it 5 or 15 or whatever you had up?
yeah, it's 5 and 15.
Five and
Just the
15.
convergence divergence on 5 and 15
Yeah,
for
I want to get those
more
up.
short term, and then you could use like a 20-day, 200-day for long term. If you're long term investing, 2200 and 515, something like that.
So what else is up with you? I don't want to control this, but I just kind of say it's been a couple weeks.
Yeah,
A lot of shit going down.
yeah,
You're
no doubt. That's what I was saying, man. I was pumped about everything that's been going down in the last couple of weeks. I got a new computer, which I'm on right now. The camera looked better, or like the camera looks wider for sure.
It
You
might
know,
be for sure, but when you
yeah,
were sitting in the other place, I couldn't help but think like it just you were off, so I couldn't tell because you were back on the couch where it all
yeah,
started.
yeah,
Um,
exactly. But yeah, so I got a new computer. I had a birthday. I
what
had
did I not know it was your birthday? When's your birthday?
eh, February 22nd, George Washington.
Oh my gosh, dude! Happy birthday! That's
No
horrible
worries,
that I
man.
didn't say anything to you.
Well, it's probably because your wife has her birthday right before me, so you were
Yeah, the
just
day before.
focused on her birthday, bro. It's totally
That's
get it.
right.
No worries. But yeah, so but couple crazy things like that. But on top of that, though, I've been addicted to obviously crypto still, and I put the mine on Wi-Fi. Before I had it hardwired, and I put the mine on Wi-Fi, and I'm going to be able to move that sucker wherever I want now, because that was like my biggest sticking point, was having to be like almost like locked to a cable. But I also figured out another solution beyond that too. You could plug in like a wireless extender to a light socket, or like a regular outlet, and then they actually have a wired connector, an RJ45 connector on the bottom that you can plug into and hardwire there too. So
I've heard
I'm gonna
about
try to
that. Yeah.
yeah, I'm gonna try to move this bad boy, try a couple different spots, see what kind of connection I get. Hopefully it's not too shitty wherever I want to move it. But like I was telling you
How is it
too,
working on Wi-Fi so far, though? I just
beautifully.
yeah,
I mean,
good.
it's fucking money. Like I was telling you too, the demand or the ask on your bandwidth is nothing. And like the power usage obviously, is a little bit hefty duty, but it's mostly like just like running a pool filter. Um but then like the RAM, you don't need a shit ton of RAM. You just need like a couple gigs of RAM, nothing crazy. You need just an i5 or I think I'm running an i3 as like a processor, so you don't need like some kind of 32 freaking thread multi-core craziness, because it barely does anything processing wise, because you're just guessing at a number. And I sent you another video about that, like I was telling you, I wrote the algorithm that they use to mine Bitcoin. But the only difference is I just made up a fake ledger instead of using the actual DAG file that blockchain runs on, that the Bitcoin blockchain runs on. And it was really cool because it gave me a whole different understanding of how the blockchain works and how everything really goes down. And it was something that I thought was super simple too, and super basic, that everybody could really kind of learn from. And the dude's English is a little shitty, but it's not too bad. But in the beginning of the video, it's the programming doesn't happen till like the 9 minute mark. So like the first 9 minutes are him just explaining how blockchain works and how everything works, and he does a really good job of that too, which is pretty cool.
Nice,
So
dude.
so yeah, so doing that algorithm and messing around with that was really cool. And like I said, like I learned that you could mine from anything pretty much. Like you could get a laptop from the freaking Salvation Army and mine on that bad boy with LOL miner. And then I sent that video around too, because I was like, man, if these guys want to get up, dude, the only thing I could think of is just use what you got, and just mine for like $2 a day or something.
No,
You're not
that's
going to make a
exactly right.
killing, but
No, but that's exactly right. I got this brick right here that I just pulled out, and I haven't been using it at all.
charge it
And
up,
there's
baby.
probably enough in there, and
Oh,
it has to stick.
100%.
So it's like I know it runs a bit slowly because it's bogged down, but I was gonna sit up tonight and get it fired up, man, and start
Yeah,
going through the motions.
just watch that video. Look at this. This is the old ass Dell laptop, 10
Yeah.
years old. I mean, this thing is like a fucking brick, dude. I mean, look how fat it is.
I
And this
know.
thing it's got like two
It's
gigs
got
of
a
RAM in
disc man in
here.
it. It's like
Yeah,
got
I
like a
mean,
hard
like,
you could
like,
DVD
yeah,
R where you
dude.
could burn
Yeah,
DVDs and
I can
shit.
still
Yeah.
burn and shit. I don't even know if they sell DVDs anymore, bro. They're like in the aisle with film, you know?
Yeah, I have
And
cases of
so
them in my garage.
good luck getting rid of them. But
Yeah.
but maybe you could use them for like an art project or
That's
something else.
exactly what I was thinking, to be honest with
Yeah.
you. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe you could make your own dish array, solar. I don't know.
Oh, I like it.
But yeah, so yeah, you could mine on anything. And if you want, you could probably even take that bad boy and, well, what I ended up doing with this one is I put a Linux distribution on it, and I'm running Ubuntu on here as well. So I totally wiped Windows off of this bad boy and put Linux on here. So I'm learning a lot more about Linux as well, because I'm all about trying to get away from some of the consumer side stuff where you're handcuffed, you're tracked, there's too much control. So I was like, I want to be able to explore some stuff without, having parents around all the time. That's kind of how I always pictured my head. It's like, hey, man, you either want to use your central banks, which is like mommy and daddy, or you can use Bitcoin, which is like going to college and being on your own, and
Yeah.
going and leaving the nest.
Yeah.
Which one do you want to do? Because if you fuck up when you're out on your own, you're eating, that bill, or you're eating all that pain, or you're eating all those problems and having to deal with the stress and drama. Not mommy and daddy anymore. So like, like Windows and Mac OS, which is what I'm on right now, are all versions of Linux. So it's like kind of funny that Mac OS and Windows, or in Windows, are the two huge most popular ones, when they're kind of based off of this Unix code, because Linux stands for Linus and Unix. So like this guy named Linus came up with the kernel that would allow this new GNU interface to mesh with this program code called Unix. So because this guy developed this and made this up and made this all happen, he was like the glue, just this 18-year-old fucking kid from Finland in his bedroom or some shit, made this kernel that made this all happen. He wanted to name it something like, well, what was it, dude? It was hysterical. It was like freaks with an X, freaks or something like that with an X, because of free. And I don't know what he explained it a little bit. I read an article about it, but he gave it to his partner, the guy that's working with them, and they were going to release it out for everybody for free. They're going to send Linux or freaks out for free to everybody. And he gives it to his buddy, and his buddy goes to the terminal to upload it and everything. And he's like, man, I'm not fucking calling this thing freaks. That's lame as hell. He's like, I'm going to just call it, I'm going to combine Linus and Unix and just call it Linux. So he just named it Linux and sent it out, and it caught on and took off, and there was no way they could stop it. So it was
That's
like, like
funny.
he hijacked it and changed the name.
Guy's like, damn it.
Yeah. No, man, I wanted to call it freaks with an X.
I still would have caught on,
No doubt.
Who knows?
And
But
what's so crazy too is I don't think people realize this, but like the reason why I'm all about Linux and Python and a bunch of that type of stuff again is because they all kind of go on a merry-go-round with me, Joel. Like I get on a different horse, and then I'll move back to the little buggy, and then I'll get on the other horse, and then I'll go over to the carriage, and like I kind of go on this merry-go-round of the same type of vibes. Even music's in there, working out. There's always that's my merry-go-round, right? And we go up, down, and around, up, down, and around. I'm all about it because, you know, when I find secrets out about stuff like Linux, what I found out was, you know, your fridge is run on Linux, traffic lights are run on Linux. All the servers, like Microsoft servers, are run on Linux. So are Apple's. So
That's
are,
funny.
you know, like, yeah. So is like everything. Amazon Web Services, Facebook, everything is run on Linux. So it's just like, why not learn that instead of learning, you know, any other type of computer thing? Because if you really, like, you know, like I was trying to explain it to Rachel, I was like, when I go to work and I have to go to a site, or I have access to go see some telco, you know, fiber, like you said, fiber incoming, so I can plug it into my site or something like that, I'll get access to crazy shit, and I'll get to go underneath the skin of the city and see the inner workings of like the plumbing and the fiber and the communications, and like, you know, just like the inner workings down to the foundations and the steel and the rebar and the old foundations. You could see it all, you know. And most people don't get to see this. They just walk on the skin and they enjoy, like, you know, everything that supports that, which is under the ground. So I think that that's kind of the same way that I'm approaching this. It's like, I've been walking around this city, which is, you know, like Microsoft and Apple and stuff like that, and enjoying it. And it's beautiful, you know, great architecture, great buildings, great services. But I want to see what's underneath. Hey, hey.
Tony says hi. Probably like 15 minutes. You want me to come up? Okay.
15 minutes tops.
I'll be up in to maybe 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay, love you.
Dad first. Always dad first. I was telling my buddy that today too. You're always dad first.
Gotta be.
Yeah.
You know, finish out. I got some cool stuff before we go.
Yeah, no, that was it, man. That was my take
That's
on why I'm going down that hole.
See, I think that's valuable because some people probably know a little bit, but I also didn't. You took it a few steps further, but saying like Windows and Mac are built off that, right? So in my
That
mind, there's
original
two different. Like, oh, you
Unix.
can't, you
Yeah.
don't get any viruses on a Mac because that you
No.
don't, you know. And you buy a Windows computer, and it's like you need mail, you know, got to put the virus, you know, control and all this crap. And it's like, well, you know, people will say, well, it's on that one, you just don't see it. They just take care of it for you, which is what the other people should do too. You know what I mean, or whatever it is. But to know that they're both built off that, I think is very valuable for people because now it says, oh, I truthfully only have to learn like this one thing. Right, like how do you make, like you go down into the depths down there and you see the pipe, right, and you're like, everybody uses, you know,
The same pipe
PV
here.
pipe or whatever pipe
Yeah.
it is. You know what I mean? They
Yeah,
all use
PVC,
the
right.
same thing or whatever it is, and you're just saying,
Yep.
okay, so if I'm going to build a house, I'm going to use that because that's
Yep.
like what everybody's buying. Like even the big boys, like because it probably lasts. Blah 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 blah. blah. So like,
Cheap,
why
all
not? Why not go to the fucking foundation, man? I dig
Yeah,
that.
see the
Shit. That's
guts. Yeah,
interesting.
see
Now you
see
made
how
me
it
wanna.
really works.
That really made me want to actually dig into Linux because before I thought, man, that's a little bit out of
Super
my
easy.
scope. I'm not
And it's
sure,
free.
but now I'm interested because it's like a building block.
It's all free,
The
dude.
building
And
block.
that's the best part is you don't have to spend any money. So like, let's say
Yeah,
you have
freaks.
your
That's
current
what.
computer. Yeah, freaks. So you have your computer there. I'll even send you a video on how to do this from Network Chuck, but literally again, 15 minutes. If you want to just try it out and not spend a dime, what you do is you go get this program on your Mac right now called Virtualbox. It's free.
Okay.
Download Virtualbox. All you do is install Virtualbox, and it's really self-explanatory. All of this is, you know, walk through, click, 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 create an account, do whatever it wants you to do. You know, you can use real info, whatever you want to do. And just make sure you click all the free shit. Then I want you to go to Ubuntu, or you can go to Debian, or you can go to Kali, but I suggest Ubuntu, Ubuntu. Okay. And it's like an orange looking logo, circular.
Yeah,
You'll get it.
Okay.
Yeah, Ubuntu. So I want you to go there and I want you to download their 64-bit operating system. It's like the main thing that they'll send you to when you click on the thing. It'll say, here, download this. Free, 100% free, 100% operatable, you know, completely no add-ons, none of that bullshit. Free as could be. And it's better than Windows, just as good as Mac OS or anything like that. So you're not going to see some sort of like, you know, half-assed, you know, Russian hacker version of an operating system, things money. And I want you to take that bad boy and I want you to open up VirtualBox, and you don't have to do anything. You don't have to have a jump drive. You don't have to have any extra hard drives. You don't have to have servers or any crazy shit. VirtualBox is going to be your server. Ubuntu is your operating system. You're going to open up VirtualBox. You're going to start a new virtual machine, and it's going to walk you through it. It'll be like, how much RAM do you want to give it? How much processor do you want to give it? How much storage do you want to give it? And you completely divide, or however you want to divide your own laptop's resources. So if you have 8 gigs of RAM, you give it 2. If you have a 500 gig hard drive, give it like 25 gigs of hard drive space. If you have an 8 core processor, give it 1 or 2 cores, and boom, you just hit launch. It'll say, hey, what operating system do you want to run? So you say this one, and it's the Ubuntu ISO image, and boom, it'll start loading Ubuntu. And next thing you know, bang, up pops a computer, 100% working, just like your computer, but it's in virtual space, does everything that your computer can do. And if you fuck it up, you just close it out and hit delete, and everything's fine. You don't have any viruses. You don't have any issues. You don't have any you didn't burn up your hard drive or your RAM or crash your own shit. It's a fake.
I'm going off the grid.
Yeah. So that's how you try it out. 100% free, no subscriptions, no bullshit, no add-ons.
What is the value? What's the benefit for me doing that? Let's just not for whatever. What's the benefit to for somebody to do that? Why would they want to do that? Like, what's one big reason?
So, for example, like I was saying, let's say you want to get a job in some sort of IT field. Obviously, this is the obvious stuff I'll start with, or computers or something like that. If you don't know Linux, you're not getting that job.
Well, let me stop. Why would I want to run my computer that way? Is what I'm saying. Why would I want to do the VirtualBox to the Ubuntu? Like, what does that do for me if I wanted to use that on my computer, not like necessarily learning it?
Sure. So, so anybody like right now that has an iPhone or a Mac, even Windows has this now. Google has it. It's called the cloud. That's what they call it on commercials and shit. And Amazon Web Services is the same thing. It's the name of the game. So back in the day, all these companies used to have these gigantic rooms, like Google, for example, had floors of servers, and they would have offsite servers and just crazy huge rooms that looked like Bitcoin mining farms. They were just servers, that would just hold information and, collect it and send it out.
Data centers and shit.
Right.
Whatever. Yeah.
So the reason why they had all that stuff back in the day was because they needed it. They used it. But now, technology has progressed, and Google doesn't need half of those assets anymore. So they had all this extra shit, and they didn't know what to do with it. So everybody started to develop cloud services that had these facilities, because what they could do, instead of using them themselves, they could let other people rent it pretty much. Yeah. So that's what ended up happening, right? So when people started to rent this stuff and use it, they realized the benefit of it. Like I said, there's automatic redundancy built in. There's power backup built in. You don't need an APS anymore. You don't need extra servers or hard drives to back your shit up. You don't need, to hire all these people to run these servers. You don't need all this tech support. There's so many efficiencies that this created. All business decided, well, this is way more efficient and profitable and cost effective. We're going to get rid of all of our shit and go to Amazon Web Services, or go to Red Hat, which is another version of Linux, Red Hat Enterprise. We're going to do all these things because they're free and they're scalable. So like, let's say me and you start a business and we're like, okay, we're going to sell cupcakes, and we sell 10 cupcakes the first month, 20 the next month. At the end of the year, we're selling 500 cupcakes a day. And we're like, God damn, dude, we need some more bandwidth on our website. We need some more bandwidth for sales. We need some more, RAM for, like storing our stuff, like our financial stuff and all this other stuff. We need some more, hard drive space for this. We need all this other stuff. We could spend all that money and build it and hire some guys for IT and shit like that. Or I could just go on Amazon Web Services and go, okay, I need to build a virtual server that's going to host all of this for us. I need 16 terabytes of hard drive space, 500 gigs of RAM. This would cost tens of thousands of dollars. And I need all of these things, and I want to run it on, Linux, because that's what everybody else is using. All the other servers are using Linux. So I want to do that, but I don't want to pay tens of thousands of dollars. How much is this going to cost me? Amazon will be like $100 a month. So instead of spending $100,000 right now, or maybe millions, depending on what we're talking about, then let's say it gets better and our business keeps blowing up, we can add more. Now it's $200 a month, but we didn't have to re-gut everything and re-engineer our entire IT system. We just went back into Amazon, set up a new one, hit, check out, and boop, we're online, and it seamlessly transfers everything over. It just adds all those features, adds all that extra, power, and we're good to go. And it happens in seconds versus months. And let's say the business starts going bad and we don't want to pay $200 a month. We're like, okay, we only need this now, Amazon. We scale it back down to $50 a month again. Doop, we're good to go. Happens in 2 seconds.
Those guys are conglomerate. We know they're a conglomerate, but
if you don't learn that stuff and you don't know that type of stuff, you get left behind. Because like we talk about music producing and writing books or making movies, all of the things that used to have barriers to entry that were impossible to scale, and they kept it that way for so long, right? Because of technology, because of money, because of access, because all these things that you couldn't get, contacts, and you couldn't get with the record labels, you couldn't get your shit in front of people unless you're handing out CDs on the fucking street and shit.
Seriously,
but now,
done it.
Right. But now you can post stuff on social media, you can, Spotify this, you can put stuff on, all over the internet to get your shit out there, right? You could host digital fucking concerts and shit nowadays. You could do you could be on fucking Fortnite playing live, whatever. But my point, you can. That's how they do concerts now.
That's interesting, huh?
But you haven't heard that? Like all the big concerts now in Fortnite. So you log in and you go to this part of the map, and then the band plays.
That's pretty cool.
Live.
That's pretty cool, yeah.
And it is really dope.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, just that type of stuff. You got to get ahead of it, because if you don't, I'm telling you, it's like one of those things where you'll get left, but you really will get left behind. Like everybody that wanted to become a musician immediately got that door opened and that barrier broken down once technology got to a certain point. Everybody that wanted to send money back home to their family because they were struggling in a third world country, and couldn't because of the barriers to entry or the cost to send money or the time frames and stuff like that, just had their lives changed with Bitcoin. So like all of these technologies and all of these things that are changing the world right now are the equivalent, in my mind, of the internet happening. And you got to get on board, otherwise you end up becoming like the grandpa where your grandkids are showing you how to use the iPad.
Yeah, that's so true. I worked for a software company here in Lincoln when we first moved here, and we were a software company, software as a service. We had a service that we went to insurance agencies because they had to quote different insurance companies, and pretty much it was just a filling thing. Like it was called SEMCAT, and we would go in and we would allow them to fill out all the different places that they wanted to get a quote for you and say, here's all your different quotes. It would autofill all of them.
That's cool.
And we were charging a couple $100 a month for this thing. These kids, I was like 32 at the time. I was the oldest one at the company, oldest one there. It was tech startup for sure. Like the desks were the doors from the building that they renovated were the desks but we had all the best tech. Like click the button with the mouse, it calls. Like everything we had. We didn't have health benefits, but we had nice tech.
That's how tech is. Yeah.
Silicon Valley PTO style and all this shit. Yeah, like our ATS was like, it was gamified, so like you could see how much people were doing, so you would want to do more. But the point of that was our entire company was on Amazon Web Services because their uptime was like 99.999. And I thought back then, this was like 2008.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, dude, that's a long ass time.
And I was like, dude, I couldn't believe that. I'm like, wow, all of our servers are built on Amazon's thing. I was like, that's crazy.
Man, if you would have been able to put that together back then, well, you did, but you just didn't put the money into like.
No, I didn't understand like
secret that you found.
True, and to be honest with you, at that point, I had thought then that I already had missed a boat. But I didn't know who Amazon in 2008.
How crazy is that?
How big Amazon would be, and like everything
they weren't even profitable then and stuff. They didn't make money or nothing.
Jeez, and that was yeah. So it's nuts, man. But that's this again to full circle back to this call. Like,
Yeah.
that's the stuff we got to pay attention to when you're in the middle of something, when you're at work and you have a software program or whatever it is that you think is really sharp.
Even an idea. Yeah.
Just pay attention to what you're using, right? I mean,
Yes.
when this thing first came out, you think, wow, that's sharp. Hold on a minute. You know, and I'm not saying you can put money in it, but think about it. You know, like you did with the jeans and the mining.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's awesome, dude. You guys got to think about that shit. Next time we'll
Pay
talk.
attention.
I want to tell you all about Ghana. Because
Yeah. I want to hear more about
me and my
this.
buddy are going deep. I found out
I'm
this.
giving you shit, but I want you to succeed. Don't get me wrong.
Oh, baby. I mean, he's from there, and we're going back, and I'm going with him. But I want to tell you that
I always give you shit about jungle gold.
I know, but I found some real jungle gold. What they really need there, and I'll leave this as a teaser.
Yeah.
Is toilets. You can build a
I like
toilet
how you're thinking.
for $1,000, and I've already researched the hell out of this, and they make about $6,000 to $7,000 a year on a toilet.
What?
Because 30% of the population in Ghana is defecating in the streets.
What? Oh my
Check this out, Tony.
God,
So real quick, I just gotta say this: you build one toilet, it makes you about $5-6 a year. Then part of that is you're collecting the stuff, and the toilet separates the urine and the feces. Then you take that. There are no local fertilizer makers. You take that, process the fertilizers, and you sell that to the farmers, because the farmers don't want to buy fertilizer because they don't have the cash and they're afraid that it might not work, and they're afraid to mess up what they have. They only make enough to eat and to support their families by what they sell, and then they have enough to start over. And the soil is depleting. The soil is depleting from all the stuff they're doing. But if you use bio peeps and poops, if you use that, it will re-fertilize the soil. There's a whole circular thing going on here. And this was the paper that I read was about the feasibility of these things, and it was written only 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah.
There's something here, and and the second part is coffee, because we want to do we want to buy a coffee farm, and then
super dope.
We want to start importing it here. So tons of good stuff going on. You will be involved in all this shit.
I definitely want to hear more.
Great.
You should write some shit down. Let's dedicate the whole episode to that.
And
then you explain it. I'll write some questions down, and then I'll come back and ask questions at the end.
Oh yeah, that'll be great.
Go hang out with Payne, and then I'll talk to you. I'll talk to you tomorrow.
Yeah. Thanks, dude. As always, have a good